This tutorial, it's going to show you how to work on a FileMaker inventory script that whenever you make a sales and click confirm, it's going to update your inventory level automatically. Coming up. Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome to another FileMaker beginner tutorial. My name is Sunny Chu, and today we are going to work on an inventory database that can update the inventory count whenever you make a sales. So let's have a look at what we have in here. So if you look into our table right now, we have the after file for this tutorial. That means this is what you're going to make after going through this tutorial. Now you can download the exercise file for this tutorial in the link in the description down below. And let's have a quick look here. Now we have a very simple database with three layouts here. We have a sales order layout, sales order line item layout as like a raw table. And then we also have a product layout right here. Now, mostly we are only going to be using the sales order layout and also the product layout. Inside this product layout, we have a list of 5 items in here like toy car, baseball bat, baseball, and etc. etc. And I've set up the selling price for all these items. And I also make all of their current inventory as 100 so that we can see the effects later on. What we're going to do is we are going to go to this sales order layout. In this tutorial, we are going to work on this confirm button on the top right hand corner. Now, what does this do? Okay, so inside this sales order, one sales order can have multiple lines of item here. So I'm selling like 20 baseball bat and 5 Game Boy console. So after I confirm this order, it should automatically deduce 20 baseball bat and 5 Game Boy from my inventory. So let's see just that. Now, to make it easier for you to see, let's just open them side by side, like here. And I'm going to click confirm and make sure you have a look at the right hand side here and notice the inventory change. So 3, 2, 1, confirm, stock deduction completed. Click OK. And then you will notice that, wow, now baseball bat has been automatically deduced the inventory level to 80 and 95. Now, what's really cool about this specific technique is that you can use it in a lot of different things. For example, it doesn't have to be like sales order affecting inventory. It can also be using purchase order to add more inventory. And this is basically the basics of how you can make different tables within your database interact with each other. And the final result is that we are going to work on this button here, which is going to create, well, we're going to have this script, this whole long script attached to this button. And we're going to do that step by step. Okay, so before I start, let me just close the after file. And I want to explain to you the concept behind how this whole thing works. So let me just quickly open up my PowerPoint here. And I just want to explain to you the table structure behind how the database was set up just now. So we have one table, the sales table, and this is one sales order. And on the other hand, we have an inventory table or the product catalog table. And we have 3 products in there, A, B, and C. And each of them is going to have some level of inventory level within it, as like a single field that stores a number. Very simple. Now, inside each sales order, we are going to have multiple sales line here. So this sales order has 2 line items there, 3 of A, 2 of B. And what we want to do with the script is that we want to look into this sales order, find out all his line item, and then look through each line item one by one. And then let's say we have A here, which is 3. We want to take that and go to the inventory database, look for the A, and then minus it by 3 so that we get the new number 7 in here. Same thing with B here, minus 2, and we got 18. So that's the mechanics behind this whole thing. Now, when we are working on a script, what we want to do is we want to plan out the whole workflow first before we actually get into the scripting workplace. So I want to show you exactly how I would run this script if I have to do this manually as a human, not as a computer script. So here is what I want to do here. So let's say I have this sales order here and I want to try to imitate what this confirm button is going to do when I click it. So when I click this, I want to save the sales order ID here. So S002. Save it in my head. And then I want to go to the sales line table and then try to find, well, currently the whole database had like 7 records here. And I only want to find the line items that belongs to S002 here. So I want to quickly go to find mode, S002 in the foreign key of the sales order. Click enter and then find these 2 items. So I have baseball bat and Game Boy. And then for each of the line item, I want to use a loop to loop through it from top to bottom. Now we only have 2 items here, so it's only going to loop 2 times. And then for the first item, I'm going to save the product ID here. And then I'm also going to save the quantity like P002 minus 20. So I want to go to the product table. Now I want to use find mode again to search for P002, find it, and then I'm going to minus it by 20, which makes this 80. And then I'm going to go back to the sales order line raw table. I was at this record. Now I'm moving down the loop to the next record to this one. So I have P005 minus 5 here. So I want to go to product again, find this P005, enter. I found the Game Boy and I want to minus it by 5. And so we have 95 here. And once we're done, we go back to this layout and then we have completed both items. So we have completed the loop. And then what we have here is we want to go back to the sales order. And then once everything is completed, I'm going to like give the user like a prompt message to tell them that, hey, we have completed the whole procedure. And that will conclude this whole script. Now, how do we do it? So if I go here and like go to this PowerPoint and just show you in kind of like a text format what I did just now. Now we have this database again with sales, sales line, and also inventory. And what we did just now was a few steps. Number 1, we save the sales order ID, save it in our head. And then we go to this line item table to find all the related sales line item. So like the S002. And then we loop through each of the items. So we have 2 items here and we loop through them one by one. And within that loop, we did a few things. Number 1, we saved the product name and also the product quantity, so we can minus it later on. And then once you save these 2 things, we go to the inventory table to look for A, to look for the product ID. And then we are going to deduct the stock, minus it by 3. And once we are done with these 2 actions, we're going to go back to the sales line item table to move on to the next item, which is B, and then do the same step again until we finish the whole loop. And then we're going to go back to the sales order page to prompt the user that we have completed the whole procedure. So this is basically what we are doing here, and I'm going to be referencing our script using these code here. Now, I do want to like normally if I'm going to do it, I want to probably just do it all in one go. But this is a beginner tutorial and I want to make sure that this is a breakdown to a more easy to understand simplified format. So we're not going to make something so complex in the first go. We're going to do like a simplified version of this, which is going to be something like this. Now, we're still going to do the same 3 steps like here. Save the ID, find the related sales line, and loop through each item. But we are not going to like save these, go to inventory, deduce the stock, and come back. We're just going to do one very simple thing at the first stage of this tutorial, which is to just shout out product and quantity. So I'm just shouting out A, 3, B, 2, and that's the first step. And once we get that, we're going to expand this blue part into the final form. So that makes it a little bit easier for you to understand the whole process. Because otherwise, if you have no idea how all these work, and you just look at the final script that looks like this, it's going to be very difficult for a beginner to understand. So we're going to do this step by step. And so let's close this, and we are back to the before file of this tutorial. And so let's get started. Now, first thing I want to do is I want to quickly introduce you to the script that we are going to be working on, which is this deduct stock script. It's already attached to this confirm button, and let me just do a quick test here to make sure this is actually connected. So I'm just going to shout out testing here. When I click this, it's going to say testing. Now, if we go back to our point and just quickly reference the step in here, the first thing that we want to do is we want to save the sales ID. This one right here. So let's do number 1, save the sales ID. So we're going to use a set variable script step here. Let's call this sales. Well, let's call it sales order, like this. And then we are going to save the primary key of the sales order that we are looking at, which is on this page here, saving this number here. And once we save that, we are then going to go to the line item layout and find all the related sales line. So that's the second step. Go to line item layout and find all sales line, well, all related sales line. So it's going to be like go to layout, and I'm first going to go to the sales order line item layout, which means this layout right here. And we're going to find only the one that we saved just now. So I'm going to use a perform find here, a script called perform find. Click that, and I'm going to set the criteria to find all the sales order line record that is related to the sales order that I just saved. So sales order, like this. So on the first step here, we saved this sales order as this variable, sales order, and now we are applying it into the sixth step of our script inside this perform find. So click OK, and that's the first 2 steps being done. Now I just want to make sure that I'm actually doing the right thing here. The first step is correct. So let me just quickly go back to sales order, and I'm going to just do a quick test. Now I'm going to go to S003, then there's 2 line item in there, Game Boy and Toy Car. Now when I run this script, if it works, I should be able to find both the Game Boy and the Toy Car that is related to S003. So if I click confirm now, you will notice that I found these 2 records. So these steps so far are correct. Now, what I want to do next is, as you can see in here, I want to loop through each line. So I need to set up a loop in here. So let's do this, loop through each sales line that I found. And to set up a loop, we need to do a few things. I'm not going to go over too much of these. You can check out how to do a loop in my other tutorial. And okay, so I've set up a loop here. It goes when I found anything, I go to the first record, and then I go through each record, and this loop will only complete after I've gone through everything inside this table. So we have set up a loop here, and this is the area where we want to put our action. So whatever we put in between these 2 areas, between the loop and the end loop, it will happen over and over again, as we have talked about in the loop script tutorial. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try and do this very simple version of the final product, which is to just shout out the product name and also its quantity. So in this case, if I loop it through first time, it's going to shout out Game Boy 3, and the next time it loops, it will shout out Toy Car and 12. So that's the idea behind it. So I'm just going to go and do like a show custom dialog, and I am going to shout out the product name within the sales order line. So double click this, and I'm gonna say as well, like equals quantity. So I'm gonna shout out the name equals quantity. So it'll be like Game Boy equals 20, something like that. So save this and let's try that again. So let's go back to the sales order layout, and we are now as S003. Now I'm just gonna quickly add in one more item here, which is the skateboard, just to make things a little bit more exciting. And I'm gonna set this to 99. So the loop is gonna run 3 times and shout out Game Boy 3, Toy Car 12, and Skateboard 99 if this whole thing works. So let's click confirm. Game Boy, Toy Car, and also Skateboard. So this is basically the first part of this whole script. We have completed this this 3.5 step here. So we want to move on to the next step, which is to start working on the more difficult part of this tutorial, which is to do everything in here like this. Now we want to convert the blue part here from the last slide into here, like the full action, where we're going to save the product name and quantity, and then go into the inventory page, look for the product, deduct the stock, and then continue the loop, and so on and so forth. So let's reset everything, take them back to the sales order layout, and we are going to work through just that. So whoops, maybe I can put this just on the bottom here like this, so that we can kind of reference what we're going to do later on. So what we want to do here is we want to, well, I think it's best for us to comment out what we want to do first. So this blue area is what we are going to be looping. So it's equals to this area right here. So we want to write it down, and let's do like 3A. We're going to want to save our product and quantity. And then we want to 3B is to go to the inventory layout and then look for the product. Go to inventory layout, not exactly the inventory layout, the product layout, and find product. And then 3C is we want to deduct the stock, or is it deduce? Not too good with this English word. Deduct the stock. And once we did both of these, we're going to go back to the original sales line page to continue the loop. Okay, so 3D, back to sales line and continue the loop. So that's what we're going to do, and we are going to start filling in this script with actual script step. So save product and quantity. So I'm going to save product ID. So this time I don't want to save the product name. I want to save the product ID P005 here, because that is the actual identifier of that particular product. So it's easier for us to like search for it. So I want to save the product ID, and I want to save this here and the product ID inside the sales order line, because currently we are at the sales order line table at this stage. So basically what we did just now is that on the first here we save the sales order like S003, and then we go to the sales order line in this step, find all the related record, and now at this point in time we want to save the product ID, which is this information here. So not only do we want to save the product ID, we also want to save the quantity that we are selling. So quantity here, and then sell quantity. We save both of these information, and then what we're going to do next is we are going to go to the product layout, and try to look for that product. So after we save P005 in this step, and then we save 3 in quantity, we go to the product layout and we're going to perform find to try and find P005 here. So we are going to go to specify, delete this, and we are now at the product layout. So what we want to do is we want to go to find the product ID that is equal to the one that we just saved. So just now we saved the product ID. Now we apply it into our find criteria. Click OK, and once we've done that, we then want to deduce the stock. So what we're going to do is, well, let's go to layout mode and see what field is this. This field is called current inventory. So I want to change this current inventory field. And so let's go and do a set field. Click this, and we are going to set the product table, set the current inventory, and we're going to update it to current inventory. So basically whatever it is, 95, and then minus the quantity here that we just saved. So what it means is just now I have saved the Game Boy. I forget how much did we save. So Game Boy, it's quantity 3. So we go to this product layout here, and what this calculation means is that it's kind of like this. It's kind of like 95 minus 3. Like that's the new updated amount that I want my product to be. So current inventory equals to current inventory minus quantity. And once we minus these two things, and we want to go back to the sales line layout, so we want to go back to this page again to continue to the next item, save the toy car ID, quantity, go to product, find it, minus the stock, come back, move on to the next step, find this, and do the same as well. So we want to go to layout and go back to the sales order layout. So it's going to be here. So that's basically it, the step that we are trying to do here. And once we are done with the whole loop, this 3, A, B, C, D, we're done with every single record. If you still remember, the last thing that we want to do is to go back to the sales order layout and prompt the user and tell him that we have completed the procedure. So that's going to be the last step right here. Go back to sales, maybe give it a little bit more space here. Sales order layout and prompt the user like this. Show custom dialog. Well, not before we go back to the layout first. Sorry about that. Save. I mean, go to layout, and we're gonna go to sales order layout, and we're gonna tell him that the inventory update is completed. Something like that, and that should be it. So now it is the time for us to test out if what we did so far is working. Now there's a chance that I made a mistake somewhere here and it's gonna fail, but let's hope for the best. And let's go to sales order, which is the starting point of this whole thing. Now, in order to make this very clear if this script worked or not, I'm just gonna go to the product page and update everything back to 100, so that if it's like not 100, we know the number has changed. So let's go to sales order, and I'm gonna go and look at like any one of them, like this one, S003, and we're gonna minus 3 Game Boy, 12 toy car, and 99 skateboard. And we're gonna click this, and if everything works, we should have like 97 Game Boy, 88 toy car, and 1 skateboard left. So 3, 2, 1, click. Inventory update is completed. click OK. And it's now the time for us to go and check the product page. Now, if I show all record in here by clicking Command J, you will notice that we have 88 toy car, 1 skateboard, and 97 Game Boy. So we have successfully created a button here. Create this button here that can allow us to update the inventory whenever we make a sales. Now, as you can see, this is a really powerful tool that you can apply into your own FileMaker solution, and it doesn't have to be just sales order. You can use it in a lot of different ways. For example, like use it in purchase order, and inside purchase order, instead of minusing the inventory, every time you purchase something, it adds the inventory. Or if you are like me, where I have worked in a manufacturing environment years ago, when you are doing manufacturing, you might be consuming inventory. So in that case, it would be like a sales order, but then you're like manufacturing order minusing the inventory. And it's a very versatile tool that can apply to a lot of different FileMaker situations because it allows you to have different parts of your database and different tables communicate and work with each other. Now, if you want to learn more of these FileMaker techniques that is very practical and you can use it in like a business setting very easily, consider checking out my course at www.fmbeginner.com. And that's basically it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next one.